So this will go back to the deputy gang in Augusta. So I found it perplexing that somebody would walk up to a police officer. I spoke just like I'm speaking right now. And that essentially from 5 years of research around the country, basically, there seems to be a reoccurring idea that builds an indication of being in a deputy cop law enforcement mafia. See, most of the time the people that find out about this stuff have speakers a lot of the time, and then they essentially start they open them up and they start torturing them into freaking out. Basically, those people, a lot of times they're like DEA informants a lot of times. So a lot of times when that open speaker kind of stuff would happen, they'd take a bunch of drugs and then they start torturing the person in speakers and shit. And then essentially it's just known to be faking schizophrenia or something like that. Basically. And so when that doesn't work, and what I noticed in my case is that cop was probably just sitting around waiting for that type of situation. Because they feel confident about their illegal gang. All right? That's what happens when you spend years formulating dumb in their stupid fucking brain. That's what happens. So nowadays, see, the cop gang used to not accept anybody being able to have PTSD unless they were in the military. Okay, so that harkens back to older, kind of like what this article about the LA deputy gang and the Little Devils and shit like that in the 60s. Essentially, they wouldn't accept the idea of anybody other than military guys having shell shock. And so those kind of ideas have lingered for years, but ever since they got Mormon Temple doing FBI index, and that it changed to where this becomes because it sounds stupid. And so then they think that they can cover up everything for raping and killing children and shit. This is what they think. They think that this idea should be utilizable all the time. So here I came to people with basically, over the course of my research and investigation, here's these people that essentially are doing illegal contracts for enemies and shit. And they think that they should be able to do those. And they also think that they should be able to cover it up. They also think that they should be able to kill their victims. They also think that they should be able to throw people they don't like in prison for some sort of delusional, dumb thought in their brain. Okay? They think that their Satanist gang or whatever is the most powerful thing ever conceived in the world. All right? And that's where they get, most of them view that stuff as people unable to stop them from doing any of it. Okay? They believe that they're free or pedo-free, or they believe in their own inoculation. They'll essentially, it's like down in the South, they have these crank dealers that essentially get in the same way. They get in the same way, and then eventually they start reaching out with so much fucking confidence that they just these cops, they're gonna start doing it too. So the whole idea is that basically they feel really confident on their weird explanations making sense to everybody in the world. Basically most of the time, the methods that they use are usually made for dark web hookup sites, which isn't the government whatsoever. Or it's made for Mormon temples, which isn't the government whatsoever. So the whole idea is that they spend years and years believing that what they're doing would be allowable by the federal government. They spend years and years pushing that stuff to hookup sites and Mormon temples because if the federal government actually finds out what they're doing, then they'll get investigated. See, there's a stupid little Cayman Island pedal bang pig in FBI in this town, and that he is the same way as all of you. And that, yeah, as I started to just lay out all this stuff, eventually the real FBI would have asked him to his face, and then that's when his little cuck dick shriveled all the way down. Right? See, what you people use hookup sites and Mormon temples for is to be keeping it away from the federal government. Because you guys are running a mafia, basically. And so that's the only reason why you guys use hookup sites. That's the only reason why you guys use Mormon temples. Because if you guys were doing that stuff officially, it would be shut down. So essentially, this type of stuff, this is what they do to their rape victims a lot of the times, and prostitutes and shit. They'll tell some cop, the cop will say, well, rape, complex PTSD or something. Well, we won't move forward for some reason. Until they get a mental health disorder exam or something. And then they'll essentially disregard the person until they get that. And then right afterward, they'll also disregard the person. Right? And so essentially, they just refuse to, they'll have a list of people who the cops raped, or the gang itself, or people internally that victimized the person from the gang. And anybody off that list, which I'm included on that, is basically where they get told in their speakers to run the disregard shit. They do. And so that's the indicator. See if they have some sort of scripted idea. That's the indicator of being a pedo-bang cop and a deputy gang. And so those are the people to throw in prison. And so one of the things about police force is that they don't like people that are too smart, because then they'll figure out how to expose their little stupid retarded little pedo-bang gang. Okay, so that's why they don't ever hire anybody that's smart in police force. You can look it up on the internet. There's articles on it. How there's an ability to be too smart to be a police officer. And you see what kind of bitch brain shit that is? And that mostly it comes from the internal blue code of silence, and that people that are smart can figure out what those people are doing without blackmailing. And so essentially what that does over time is that investigation and investigators essentially can't be smart, or they just won't hire you if you reach a certain IQ level. And so with that, investigators become dumber in a broad way over time as these gangs exist in damn near everybody's police force in ways, or in everybody's county. And so what happens is local law enforcement essentially becomes imbeciles when it comes to investigation. Because a smart investigator would be able to see the cop gang without blackmailing. They would see everything. And so then they would be smart enough on how to expose everything. And that's why that's what that's about. The restriction on IQs being too much. Okay? I mean, here's where the Hannibal TV show, that guy, you see how that guy was like a genius. And you see how he was in and out of investigations and on leave of absence and stuff. There's like that's just a TV show. But it's like an example of the kind of stuff that if you're like too smart as an investigator, even in the FBI, then there seems to be, I bet you, this is what I bet, because that's kind of what happens to people that don't do any blackmailing in the law enforcement investigation world. They start to exhibit issues, basically. And so you notice that logic and rationality and not exhibiting any of these signs is what I do as an investigator. And that since I do investigative journalism, I just bypass all of you. You people release the ability at all levels of my investigation to a public journalist. You see, Pig, I know how to make you people stupid little puppets. Alright? No? Normally this stuff would revolve around. Normally it would revolve around like censuring ideas, but when you don't respond and when you play avoidance and when you have a face-to-face Homeland Security officer be releasing your information, then there ain't nothing you people can do about it. That's pretty much it. And so I just want to remind them as they sit in their voyeur site right now, having their stereotypical discussions and shit. I just want to remind them that since you guys are voyeuring me and since you guys are having the same discussions as in the past, I know exactly who basic people are. And that then you guys have some explanation on me saying this stuff again, and I'm going to have this explanation of you all saying the same discussion again. And then that's where you people don't actually matter. You people don't actually have an opinion. Your guys' opinion that you guys are logging in that dark web doesn't matter. It doesn't pertain to anything that anybody would ever give a fuck about. All you people are hackers now, accessing a private profile on dark web. And so you guys, just because you guys have a badge and just because you guys saw some orange or some fart in the wind or something doesn't give you people the ability to violate people in a voyeur way. And that since you guys are doing that through a gang system, and that you guys can't violate people's privacy, you can't put audios in my speaker either. It's considered a capital offense, torture. So, maybe you all should realize that I know that you all want to rest yourselves, but just realize that what you guys are used to with this disregard idea with Mormon temple and shit, their opinion doesn't fucking matter either. And that in the end, the government, the real government, they get my information from YouTube and Facebook and other places that I post this stuff. And so your guys' opinion doesn't change anything. So when you guys go in these Mormon Temple FBI indexes that you guys build illegally, and then you guys AI them so that you guys can pettily snap them around to different servers and shit, that stuff isn't actually used ever by official government ever. You people are in a cop gang, and that all of that information is doctored and shitty, and that the official government has this video. Let me tell you the types of stuff that happen in the modern 21st century. I'm going to talk about AI video tracing. So see, I make a video on YouTube. It becomes very easy for the government to essentially have an AI virtualization of that. So essentially every little sliver of this video is traceable. And so when you guys have copies on your computers that have little segments from it, then a trace can happen. And then they start to figure out, Then they can't see out of your camera. They can't get into your microphone. And then that is what a gang system is. And that you all are busy, like, just being Southern pedo bang with your guys' retarded, like, weird Me Too pedo bang shit. And just remember that sooner or later, you all will see some video and you guys will start claiming that you guys control people's brains. And that is why most of you have probably done that in the past. That's why none of you actually have any, like, bearing on this type of information whatsoever. See, cop, I'm investigating cop gangs. Cops that disregard and stuff, the existence of it. You're the exact ones that get put on a list of being in one. Because, see, cop, your blue code of silence that you use, these exist in a real fucking way. So everybody that sits around in a police station with these people in there, that sit around denying the reality of a cop gang, you people are just part of it. Gangs always lie. So just remember, cop, I know that none of you pigs are used to being investigated. This is why I basically do forms of intellectual intelligence to get people to understand how easy it is to figure out stupid little piggies. And then over time, all they have to do is use their FBI, like from Washington, D.C., with a bunch of Jews. They can just use their AI computer to look right on your gang screen using the words that just came out of your fucking mouth. See, cop, you're in a gang. And so that's the justification that you use for voyeur stalking somebody. And so the FBI just might use that to voyeur stalk you. The words, they might even shove the video of what you just said right in your fucking face to justify your understanding of what you allow. And then they'll use that on you. Do you see where the federal government can, in lots of ways, be doing Department of Justice oversight on law enforcement? You see, private citizens, see, cop, you're trying to do official police work, and Department of Justice can basically use the voyeur site shit that you all are using on you. And that they could probably justify that inside of their Department of Justice. But see, to use that stuff on other people, that is where that evidence never gets placed into those cases, does it, pig? But you're using essentially what is an infrastructure that's built into the FBI, and that can be used internally. So, piggy, just remember that this is what the government's doing. Oh yeah, I'm just trying to give you guys a heads up. I know that you guys will want some sort of direct confirmation. And that, hey, pig, what do you guys do? Well, in lots of ways, cop gang can just be made a huge fucking bitch. Oh, you guys do ghost voyeur? What do they do? You know what? Joe Biden's administration has a whole huge donor base for fuck over cops in the asshole. Or Black Lives Matter. Right? But yeah, I like to call it fuck over cops in the asshole. That's my version. All right?